Imagine waking up, looking in the mirror, and realizing that a tiny, invisible monster is literally eating away at your brain tissue. No cap, just slowly dissolving the actual physical mass inside your skull while you check your morning notifications. You'd probably go straight to the hospital, right? You'd be terrified. But the crazy part is this is happening to you right now. Today, at this exact second, we all talk about feeling stressed. Like, oh, I have a massive exam coming up, I'm so stressed. Or, my boss just emailed me at 11 p.m., I'm stressed. We treat stress like it's just a bad vibe, an emotion, a temporary glitch in your aura. But science tells a completely different, absolutely unhinged story. Chronic stress isn't just a feeling. It is a highly toxic, corrosive chemical state that physically alters the architecture of your brain. It literally shrinks the part of your brain responsible for memory and learning, and it hyperinflates the part of your brain responsible for fear. Your brain is actively rewiring itself to be terrified of the world. If you feel like your attention span is cooked, your memory is glitching like an NPC, and you're constantly on edge for zero reason you're not crazy. Your brain is just under attack. Stick around, because by the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how stress is destroying your hardware, and the scientifically proven ways to get your whiz back and reverse the damage.
Hey, welcome back to MindSpark, the place where curiosity comes alive. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered what would happen if things suddenly changed instantly? Stick with me, because the answer is way more shocking than you think.
Welcome back to MindSpark. If you're new here, we take the most mind-bending, unhinged facts about the universe, human psychology, and science, and we break them down so you can actually understand the matrix we live in. Today, we are talking about stress, but not the soft, self-care, just take a bubble bath kind of stress. I'm talking about neurobiology. I'm talking about what happens under the hood when your body is marinated in stress hormones for months on end. Because here's the reality check. Human beings were not designed to live like this. At all. Our hardware is incredibly outdated. We are running a hunter-gatherer operating system in a hyper-digital, 24/7 TikTok scrolling, late-stage capitalist world. Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between a hungry grizzly bear charging at you in the woods and an angry email from your boss. The chemical reaction is identical, but while the bear attack lasts 10 minutes, the work anxiety lasts for 10 years. And your brain? It's getting completely deep-fried. Let's open up the skull and see exactly who is sabotaging your life. To understand why you feel like you're constantly taking L's, you need to meet the villain of this story, the amygdala. This tiny, almond-shaped structure deep in the temporal lobe of your brain is your internal smoke detector. It's the primal, reptilian part of your brain that handles fear, threat detection, and survival. The amygdala has one job: keep you alive. And honestly, the amygdala has massive negative aura. It literally hates everything and assumes everything is trying to end your life. When you see a shadow in a dark alley, your eyes send the signal to your amygdala way faster than they send it to your visual cortex, the logical part of your brain. That's why you jump back from a garden hose thinking it's a snake before you even consciously realize it's just a hose. The amygdala doesn't care about logic. It cares about speed. But here is where things get completely unhinged. When you are chronically stressed, meaning you have anxiety about rent, school, your relationships, or the economy, your amygdala is constantly firing. It's like a car alarm that's glued to the on position. And because the brain is like a muscle, what happens when you work a muscle every single day? It gets bigger. Neuroscientists at Harvard University took MRI scans of people under chronic stress, and they found that the amygdala physically increases in size. It grows more synapses. It becomes hypersensitive. You are literally leveling up your fear center. This means that over time, it takes less and less stress to trigger a panic response. You become highly reactive. Someone leaves you on read for 2 hours. Your hyperjacked amygdala treats it like a literal threat to your survival. You drop a spoon in the kitchen, absolute rage. Your threat detection system is completely cooked. It is seeing enemies where there are no enemies, acting like an over-leveled boss in a starting zone. So the amygdala spots a threat, a real one or a fake one, it doesn't matter. What happens next is a biological chain reaction that happens in milliseconds, known as the HPA axis. The hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the adrenal glands. Your brain hits the big red button, and your adrenal glands flood your system with two heavy hitters: adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline is the hype man. It makes your heart rate spike, dilates your pupils, and pushes blood to your muscles so you can sprint away or throw a punch. But cortisol? Cortisol is the real problem. Cortisol is supposed to be the slow-release energy provider that keeps you fueled during a crisis. But when cortisol stays in your bloodstream day after day, week after week, it turns incredibly toxic. It's like leaving a highly corrosive acid inside your engine. Cortisol is a stress hormone, which means its only goal is short-term survival. To keep you alive right now, cortisol shuts down everything that isn't immediately necessary. Digesting food, not necessary if you're running from a bear. Cortisol shuts down your gut. Hello, stress-induced IBS and stomach ulcers. Immune system, fighting off a tiny virus doesn't matter if you're about to get eaten. Cortisol actively suppresses your immune system. That's why you always get sick right after finals week or a massive work project. Your shields are completely down. But the craziest thing cortisol does is hijack your prefrontal cortex. Your prefrontal cortex is the front part of your brain. It's the CEO, the logical thinker. The part of you that solves math problems, understands consequences, and regulates your emotions. Your prefrontal cortex is supposed to have major main character energy. It's the part of you that has WRIZ, keeps you calm, and tells the amygdala to chill out. When cortisol floods your brain, it severs the neural connections in your prefrontal cortex. It literally unplugs the Wi-Fi to your logic center. This is why, when you are having a panic attack or you're in a massive argument, you cannot think straight. You literally lose IQ points. You say things you don't mean, you can't remember basic facts, and you make terrible decisions. Your brain has locked the CEO in a closet and handed the steering wheel over to the screaming toddler that is your amygdala. You are running on pure, unhinged survival instinct. All right, this is where the science goes from slightly disturbing to absolutely terrifying. We need to talk about the hippocampus. The hippocampus is your brain's hard drive. It is the center for learning, memory consolidation, and spatial navigation. When you study for a test, learn a new TikTok dance, or remember where you parked your car, your hippocampus is doing the heavy lifting. Normally, the hippocampus is highly resilient. It's actually one of the only places in the adult human brain where neurogenesis happens, meaning it can literally give birth to brand new brain cells every single day. That is a massive W. But remember our toxic X, cortisol? Yeah, the hippocampus is absolutely covered in cortisol receptors. It is highly sensitive to stress hormones. When you are chronically stressed, the massive influx of cortisol acts like a weed killer on your brain cells. First, it halts the production of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF is essentially Miracle-Gro for your brain. It's what helps your neurons grow thick, healthy branches called dendrites, allowing them to communicate. Without BDNF, your neurons begin to wither. Their branches retract, they stop communicating with each other, and eventually those brain cells die. I am not speaking metaphorically. Chronic stress causes physical atrophy of the hippocampus. The structure actually loses volume and shrinks. Your hard drive is physically losing gigabytes of storage space. This is why chronic stress absolutely wrecks your memory. Have you ever gone through a deeply traumatic or stressful period in your life, and when you look back at that year, it's just a blur? You can't remember entire months? That's not an accident. That is your hippocampus shutting down under the weight of cortisol toxicity. Think about the paradox here. The amygdala, the fear center, is getting physically bigger and stronger. The hippocampus, the memory and context center, is getting physically smaller and weaker. The prefrontal cortex, the logic center, is getting disconnected. Your brain is literally sculpting itself into an anxiety machine. It's deleting your ability to remember that you are safe, while upgrading its ability to panic at everything. It's the ultimate biological scam. Now, if you thought shrinking your own brain was bad, let me introduce you to the most mind-blowing concept in modern biology, epigenetics. For decades, we thought that your DNA was locked in. You get your genes from your parents, and whatever code is in there, that's your destiny. You can't change it. We were completely wrong. Your DNA is the hardware, but epigenetics is the software. Epigenetic markers are chemical tags that attach to your DNA and tell your body which genes to turn on and which genes to turn off. And guess what controls those epigenetic markers? Your environment, your lifestyle, and yes, your trauma and your stress. Let him cook for a second. During the end of World War II, there was a period in the Netherlands known as the Dutch Hunger Winter. A brutal famine where people were starving, surviving on mere hundreds of calories a day. It was an era of profound, horrific stress. Decades later, scientists studied the children and the grandchildren of the women who were pregnant during that famine. Those kids and grandkids didn't experience the famine. They grew up with plenty of food, but their biology was fundamentally altered. They had significantly higher rates of obesity, diabetes, and schizophrenia. Why? Because the severe stress of the grandparents altered their epigenetic markers. Their bodies tagged their DNA to say, "Warning, the world is starving, store every single calorie as fat." And they passed that modified, stressed-out software code down to their kids. Scientists proved this in a lab with mice. They took a group of mice and exposed them to the smell of cherry blossoms. But every time the mice smelled the cherry blossoms, the scientists gave them a mild electric shock. Obviously, the mice became terrified of the smell of cherry blossoms. Makes sense, right? But then, those mice had babies. The scientists took those babies, who had never been shocked in their lives, and puffed the smell of cherry blossoms into their cage. The baby mice panicked. They showed a massive fear response. They inherited the trauma. The stress of the parent literally rewrote the genetic code of the offspring. If you are walking around with chronic, unmanaged stress, you aren't just frying your own nervous system. You are potentially altering the genetic baseline of your future children. You are giving them a hyperactive amygdala before they are even born. That is the definition of passing down your L's. Okay, take a deep breath. I know I just dropped some incredibly dark, doom-pilled science on you. You're probably sitting there thinking, well, I'm cooked. My brain is a raisin, my DNA is cursed, it's over for me. Everything I just described, the shrinking hippocampus, the expanding amygdala, the severed connections to the prefrontal cortex, it is almost entirely reversible. Welcome to the magic of neuroplasticity. Your brain is not a piece of concrete, it is plastic, it is highly moldable. Just like your brain can wire itself for fear, it can rewire itself for peace, logic, and resilience. You just have to know how to hack the hardware. Here is the exact, scientifically proven protocol to uncook your brain. Step 1. Aerobic exercise. Remember BDNF? The miracle grow for your brain that cortisol destroys? Cardio is the ultimate BDNF cheat code. When you run, swim, or cycle, your muscles release proteins that travel straight to your brain and trigger a massive release of BDNF. Your hippocampus literally starts growing new branches. You are physically rebuilding your hard drive. Step 2. Mindfulness and meditation. I know, it sounds like fake guru nonsense, but the MRI scans don't lie. Studies show that just 8 weeks of daily mindfulness meditation literally shrinks the amygdala. It drains the power from the fear center and thickens the gray matter in your prefrontal cortex. You are actively taking the steering wheel away from the toddler and giving it back to the CEO. You are getting your main character aura back. Step 3. Sleep. Sleep is not a luxury. When you enter deep sleep, your brain activates the glymphatic system. It acts like a literal power washer, flushing cerebrospinal fluid through your brain tissue to clear out the toxic buildup of cortisol and metabolic waste from the day. If you aren't sleeping 7 to 8 hours, you are leaving the trash in the kitchen overnight. Every night. Your brain is the most complex, unhinged, magnificent machine in the known universe. But it is ancient. It was built for a world that doesn't exist anymore. When you let modern stress run on autopilot, it will hijack your biology. It will shrink your memory, amplify your fear, and steal your logic. But the moment you become aware of it, the moment you realize why you feel the way you do, you take the power back. You are not broken. Your brain is just doing exactly what it was programmed to do to keep you alive. Now it's your job to teach it that you're actually safe. Which part of this video blew your mind the most? Was it the fact that your brain literally shrinks, or the wild mouse DNA study? drop a comment down below right now with your biggest mind-blown moment. I'm going to be in the comments reading through them. If this video shifted your perspective, hit that like button. It actually helps the algorithm push this science to people who really need to hear it. And if you want to keep leveling up your understanding of the universe and your own mind, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. This is MindSpark. Keep your cortisol low, keep your prefrontal cortex in charge, and I will see you in the next one. Stay curious.
If this video made you think even for a second, hit the like button. It really helps the channel. Subscribe to MindSpark for more mind-blowing ideas, and tell me in the comments what topic we should explore next. Until next time, keep your mind curious.